Here's a look at a recap of your markets on this Wednesday, the 19th day of February. Of course, all the cattle auctions around the state yesterday canceled. Same story today. Few special cow sales later this week and into the weekend, but we'll have to wait until next week before we see much, if any, feeder movement resume. This Friday, the monthly cattle on feed report will be published. Got pre-report estimates in today on feed numbers. The analyst average guess 99.3, marketing's at 102.2. Those numbers, of course, are typically pretty close to pre-report estimates. The one that always is of most concern is the placement number. That number, the average guess, 103.0 with a range of 98.6 to 106.1 following that inventory report from a couple of weeks ago. You might be asking yourself, how can we place more numbers when inventory was lower? However, if you think back to last year, January marketings were actually quite low, or January placements rather were quite low due to several weeks of winter storms that passed through, which we just didn't have this week. And here in Missouri, if we look at the monthly auction receipts, we were quite a bit higher this year in January compared to what we had last year in January. So that would follow suit and make sense. Taking a look at the box beef cutout values, choice closed the day at $313.89, down $1.88. Select at $303.76, up a nickel. Those values based on 121 loads of cuts, trimmings, and grinds, and the choice select spread at $10.13. Negotiated feedlot trade for the week up to about 1,650 head. Kansas and Texas have both been at a standstill. Nothing reported there. Iowa's reported about 672 head, all at $200 even on the live side. Nebraska's reported about 265 head, all at $200 even on the live side as well. Slaughter numbers for the week on the cattle side, they continue to run quite slow as the packers are trying to slow that chain speed and try to help their margins a bit, currently setting at a loss of about $200 per head, according to the latest Sterling profit tracker. The feedlots, however, they're looking at a profit of about $277 per head. On Wednesday, the estimated cattle slaughter, 117,000 head. That was down 3,000 from both a week ago and a year ago. That makes the week-to-date estimate so far 330,000 head. Wednesday's hog slaughter at 489,000 head. That's down 1,000 from last week, down 3,000 head from a year ago. That makes the week-to-date estimate there 1,457,000 head. Taking a look at the closing futures markets on the Mercantile Exchange, live cattle for February, 197.82 up 37, April 194.77 up 75. Feeder cattle for March 269.02 down 70. April at 268.60 down 50. Taking a look at that feeder cattle index, which is mainly being heightened, I guess you would say, by sales that have taken place in the northern plains, as many of the southern plain sales have been stalled due to the weather from the last week. The index, based on an 800-pound steer up through the 12-state feeding region, up 52 cents for the day at $278.51. Lean hogs for April down $3.45 at $89.75. May, $93.62 down $3.25. Turning our attention to the grain markets at the elevators around the state on Wednesday. Soybean bids stayed a 7 lower, wheat down 13, and corn 3 to 7 lower. Corn bids in the St. Louis region, $5 to $5.05. Kansas City, $4.57 to $4.87. Soybean bids in St. Louis, $10.28 to $10.37. Kansas City, $9.81 to $10.11. Wheat bids, St. Louis, $5.87 to $6.12. Kansas City, $5.72. On the Chicago Board of Trade, corn for March, 4.5 lower. 497 and a half. May 512 and a quarter, down 3.5. Soybeans for March 6 3/4 cents lower, 1031 and 3/4. May at 1048 and a quarter, down 7 1/4. Wheat for March 12 3/4 cents lower, 592. May down 11 1/4 at 606 and a half. Soybean meal for March up 90 cents a ton at 294.70. Soybean oil for March down $1 a hundredweight at 46.30. With the Missouri Department of Agriculture, that's a look at a recap of your markets for Wednesday. This is Tony Hancock.